What is up, expat fam? Welcome to the fifth and final part of Matteo's Italian adventure, bartending at an Irish pub in Florence. In case you missed parts 1 to 4, you can catch up in the playlist link above. And comment below and let me know where you are watching from. In part 4 of Matteo's Italian adventure, guiding bus and Vespa tours through Europe, I mentioned that after working for the Vespa shop, I was unemployed for 2 months. And in this 2 months, I kind of just spent my time chilling with friends, partying, exploring the city, and handing out my CV to places that I could possibly get some work. My next journey actually began at around 4 in the morning outside a random pizza shop down some alleyway behind one of the houses that my friends lived at. Why 4 in the morning? Well, I needed some breakfast after one of my nights out. And while I was there, it just so happened that there were 2 British people sitting on the pavement with me that had the same idea of getting some pizza after their night's work. I got talking to these 2, their names were Mike and Lulu, and very quickly they got to understand my current situation. And they told me that they worked for a local pub that was extremely popular in Florence as it served a lot of American students. They told me to just apply for a job at the pub and just see where it goes from there. And so the next day I enthusiastically walked to this pub and handed in my CV. What was this pub? Well, the name of it was the Lion's Fountain Irish Pub. And it was one of the most popular pubs in Florence. They had a brother pub in Florence called Uncle Jimmy's Irish Pub. And that's the pub that I ended up working at. 1 week after handing in my CV, I started work at Uncle Jimmy's. And don't think I'd bartended before. This was my first time ever. And so I had a lot to learn. So what did I do at Uncle Jimmy's? Well, I worked 5 nights per week and they were in 8-hour shifts. We used to hold different events every night of the week, such as Dollar Monday, when the American students could come and spend their American dollars, and Taco Tuesday, and Beer Pong Wednesday, Flip Cup Thursday, something entertaining for the students every night of the week. As this was my first time bartending, I kind of made the drinks a little too strong. But that's probably why I was the students' favorite bartender. Even though I had no idea what I was doing, my first week there was absolutely awesome. And it was actually during this week that I met Michelle. I had a night off that first week that I was working there, and so I met up with all my Bus to Alps friends who were all in Florence because of orientation that was happening that week. Michelle worked for Bus to Alps the semester after I left. And funny enough, she was the only employee I had never met. And as cliche as it sounds, when Michelle and I met, we knew that instant that there was a spark between us. We hit it off immediately and kept in contact after meeting that night. As she was part of the Bus to Alps Rome team, she used to come up every other weekend to come and visit me in Florence. Due to the fact that we were young and our lives were a little bit chaotic at the time, after coming up to visit me every other weekend, we finally decided that we actually wanted to be together in the same city. And so she quit her job and moved to Florence and started working for a Florence-based travel company. So what did I do during my 8 months at Jimmy's? While I was working at Jimmy's, my mother actually moved to Florence for 2 months to study Italian at the school that I went to, and this was in June of 2017. I got to go to Culture Storico for the 2nd time in June, as my mom, Michelle, and 2 of my South African friends happened to be in Florence in June. Culture Storico is the world's most violent sport, and it involves rugby, football, soccer, boxing, UFC, you name it and they do it. It is an extremely old sport and massively entertaining to watch. The 4 teams in the sport represent 4 different churches in Florence. And what they win at the end of this tournament is pride. I know, it sounds crazy, but they win pride, and that is exactly why they play the sport. I took my mother to Cinque Terre in July and showed her the coastal beauty of northern Italy. During my time at Jimmy's, I finally climbed the magnificent Duomo. And it is just really an architectural masterpiece. During my free time, I used to hang out with Michelle and her co-workers. And we did all sorts of things, including Thanksgiving in Italy. This was my first Thanksgiving, and it's definitely a memory I'm going to cherish. In September, my 2 brothers visited me from South Africa. I met them in Amsterdam, and this was the first time I'd ever been to Amsterdam. We had a crazy time in Amsterdam, and we spent our time exploring the city, seeing shows, and visiting neighboring towns. After Amsterdam, we all took the same flight back to Florence, so they could come and meet Michelle and see where I work and meet my new friends and just see what my life was like on the other side of the world. A month after my brothers left, Michelle came home with me to South Africa for my cousin's wedding. She got to experience South Africa for the first time and got to meet all of my family. I took Michelle and Mike to a South Africa versus Italy rugby game in Florence in November of 2017. This was Michelle's first live rugby game. During my final week in Florence, Michelle and I spontaneously booked a trip to the European Christmas markets. We booked one evening, leaving for the next morning. And so we took a flight to Budapest the next morning and stayed there for a couple days before taking a bus to Vienna, spending a couple of nights there, and then taking another bus to Prague before finally flying back to Florence. These Christmas markets were definitely something to tick off of the bucket list. And if you ever get a chance to go to Eastern Europe during Christmas time, you should 100% do it. The atmosphere, the foods, and the culture are all something to be experienced in your lifetime. And so after visiting the Christmas markets, Michelle and I decided to go to our separate homes and decide what we wanted to do next with our lives. I'd never really entertained the idea of being in the United States, but on the bus on the way to Rome airport when we were both about to leave, we kind of got chatting and realized that maybe I should go to the States and meet her there and then just kind of see what develops. We decided that we could head to Chicago, Michelle could get a job, and we could kind of figure out what to do from there. After being at home for 3 months, I got on a plane and I flew to Chicago to meet Michelle. This is the beginning of our next journey together, but that's a whole nother story. And so if I've learned anything over my 2 years of being in Italy, it is that if you take the leap, the net will rarely appear. And that you should rather live with the regret of having tried something then live with the regrets of not even having started it in the first place. I hope I've inspired you just a little bit to say yes to the things that scare you most and to take those opportunities in life when they are presented to you. And if they are not presented to you, well then create them. There hasn't been one decision that I made that hasn't worked out. It all depends on how you look at the situation. What is the craziest life-changing decision that you've ever made? And what did you learn from it? Let me know in the comments below. And if I've inspired you to carve your own path, but you absolutely have no idea where to begin, then start by clicking on the playlist to my right. Thank you for letting me share my journey with you.